Thank you and welcome, Maxine.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here this evening, Lords, and of course to Soundfair. When Soundfair approached me for sharing my story this evening, I have to be honest in the fact that I really had to give it some really good thought and consideration in terms of, well, how do I channel my lived experience of hearing loss into my professional role? Because I've always just thought of it as something that naturally and organically just occurs. And then I had to stop and think, now, hang on a sec, there is a real conscious side to the work that I do in terms of channeling and leveraging the disability I have in terms of my professional role. So this evening, I'm going to share with you how I do that, how I've used my hearing loss as a positive, and how I use it as leverage in my business. So I hope you enjoy my story this evening. Going back, a little bit of a backstory for you. I have worked in disability now for probably well over 30 years. Predominantly, I have worked within community, supporting clients with different disability, a whole range of different disability. And I've also worked in the educational setting for quite some time as well, supporting students on the program for students with disability in a whole range of different areas of development, whether that be social, emotional, behavioral, speech therapy assisted programs, a whole range of different areas of development. Now, it wasn't until 6 years ago that I actually acquired my hearing loss. So I was diagnosed with an acoustic neuroma in my left ear. Unfortunately, at the time of diagnosis, it was significantly large. I had to undergo surgery to have that removed, which meant that I lost 100% hearing in my left ear. Now, at this stage, coincidentally, I had started my own business as a director of Accessibility Australia with my partner, my business partner, Judy O'Connor. Now, I was 1 year into the business, never having ever anticipated having my own disability coming into this business and moving forward. Now, I know people say that, it's pretty much a given as we get older. For a lot of people, for a large percentage of population, we do end up with a diagnosis of a disability. Certainly for me in my 40s, I didn't expect it to happen so soon. However, I have to say, if anything, I had to turn my way of thinking around in the fact that, yes, I lost my hearing on my left side, which significantly impacts my life, more so on a social level. But I've had to turn it around and really turn my thinking around in terms of there has been some positives that have come out of this. So I hope to share those with you this evening. I do believe for me, my lived experience has really afforded me the opportunity to strive to embed my hearing loss into my work. And as I said, leverage it as much as possible, and also for the benefit of others as well. Now, like Soundfair, I like to apply the same person-centered approach to the value, to the work that I do. And I like to look at the whole person in terms of their whole of life experiences. So when we are developing the resources that we do at Accessibility, and I will share with you those with you a little bit later on, when we are developing those resources, I do look at the whole person and that whole experience for that individual. Also like to demonstrate a commitment to the social model of disability and really try to look through the lens in terms of the way society imposes barriers as opposed to the person with the disability. And this approach also helps me to find those solutions that will help to change society, change attitudes, and also help to accommodate more people in community when people are participating in community experiences. So moving on to the work that we do, just so you have an understanding of what I am talking about, our organisation Accessibility Australia are the founders of a resource called Access Keys. Now, Access Keys are customised accessibility guides for venues and events. We develop guides on behalf of many, many different Victorian local government organisations, and we've also more recently moved into New South Wales as well. We did have plans pre-COVID to actually scale more nationally, but unfortunately that hasn't been able to happen as yet. And the way that our business model is structured is that our resources are readily available for free download. Now, if we can just share, please, Lords, my resource number 1. There we go. Now that's the one. That is a page from one of our access keys for a recreational centre in the city of Bendigo. And as you can see here, we've got a photograph showing what the experience entails. We've got some information to allow people to understand the accessibility features of this particular venue. And really importantly, and very unique to our resource, we have a sensory guide. Now, I'll just share with you a little experience that I've had recently. Now, obviously, I work in this setting and I go in and out of these sorts of centres on a regular basis, but I'm not spending a huge amount of time in one particular area. Now, more recently, I actually took my aging mother to a swimming pool. It was to a hydrotherapy pool, and I had actually forgotten the amount of echo that is in these types of centres. So having these types of sensory guides on these resources really helps people to prepare before they go in terms of what those sensory elements are going to be at these sorts of venues, and it helps them to actually plan their outings and hopefully for a more successful experience. Could we move on to resource 2, please? So again, resource 2, it shows a page from another access key for a co-working space. This is actually where we have our office in the Eastern Innovation Business Centre in Mulgrave. And once again, the sensory guides are allowing people to understand if I'm going to actually hire a hot desk in this space, these are the sorts of sounds I'm going to expect to be hearing. These are the sorts of sights I'm going to be experiencing. And it just allows people to plan for a day. For example, if you're going to go along and hearing somebody else's keyboard clicks and mouse clicks and photocopier and printer, if that's going to disturb you, then you would know ahead of time to make sure that you do take some ear defenders along with you. So there's a whole range of different sensory elements that we include in our access keys. Thank you, Lords, for sharing. Now, in terms of the access keys, I have written down a list and I'm just going to read those for you quickly. In terms of the benefits for the user of the access key, it's about improving information, providing a level of improved information and cutting down on the legwork. It's also sending a very welcoming message from each organisation to community. So for a person with disability, it's about understanding and knowing that this venue is welcoming of people of all abilities and feeling included before even walking through the front doors. It's going to help you determine the suitability of a particular venue or an event as well, and provide you with a level of confidence to attend. It will definitely deliver you a gift of calm and help ease anxiety about visiting a new place. It will help you to foster some levels of independence. It will provide improved connectivity to community. And it will certainly help you to prepare for your experience. For example, you can download a communication board before you go, and you can actually pre-script your query before you actually arrive. So you can use that sort of a resource, and you can take along the likes of your earplugs, ear defenders, and really prepare for a much calmer, more enjoyable experience. There are many, many benefits also to each organisation that actually have access keys, but I don't think I'll go through those because I think they pretty much speak for themselves. We do also have another new resource that's recently come out to really help people with disability within community called an Access Key Assist, which is pretty much an abridged version of an access key. It's an online digitally produced resource, and it's really ideal for small to medium enterprise. It's just another way for us to help to provide that improved level of information for people with disability attending somewhere new or somewhere different. And I'm really proud to say with this particular resource, sorry, excuse me, Um, we spent some time consulting with Soundfair, with Lisa and one of the audiologists, Dr. Jessica from Soundfair, who really were able to assist us greatly looking at the environmental sound elements, particularly when it comes to the hospitality industry, and looking at potential triggers in terms of what may upset a person with hearing loss and what sort of information a person with hearing loss would really need to know and value before actually attending a venue. And we've been able to capture that in our new resource. So if we could share resource number 3, please, Lords. Okay, so on screen now, you are seeing an access key assist for a cafe. And if you could just scroll down a little bit for me, please, Lords, you can actually see the sort of information that we're including in here. So again, it's just helping individuals prepare ahead of attending, to let them know that this is what's on offer. These are the accessible, inclusive features, and does this venue suit my individual needs? Now, at the very top, you'll see little Milo mascot and some wording saying sensory guide here. If we could just move to our next resource, please, Lords, and scroll down to the green page, I believe it is, which is the sounds. Here we go. And this is the section that we worked heavily on with Soundfair, where we had a look at potentially what sorts of sounds might we hear in a cafe and what sorts of things can we prepare for before we actually go. So I'll just give you a few moments to read through those. And I think even if we just think about music, I know for myself, having hearing loss, it's really important for me to know before I attend somewhere, particularly a restaurant or a cafe, which is a social event where I'm going to want to engage in conversation with the people I'm with. It's really important for me to know, is there going to be music there? Because if there is, that's going to do my head in, and I'm going to want to walk back out that door as quickly as I possibly can. But with the access key assists, it's telling us sort of the type of music that's going to be played. And also in the access key assist, one of the questions we do ask the cafe operator is, are you willing to turn that music down upon request? And quite often, well, we've never been told no yet. But I guess it's something that, as a patron attending this venue, if we have it in writing on the likes of this sort of resource, it's certainly something that we would be less shy to ask for when we actually attend this particular venue. Thanks for that, Chair. So I'll just move on to talk about our communication boards as well, which is another resource we produce, which really helps to support people with a whole range of different communication challenges within community. A communication board, it's a visual board, it has symbols on it. Because we're designing and developing these boards for a whole range of different organisations, the symbols will often reflect the products and services that our clients offer. Which really allows the visitor, before they attend, as I mentioned before, to pre-prepare the types of queries and questions they want to ask at the actual venue. So they can print the communication board, they're mobile responsive, they can have it on their device, and they can just attend and they can point to the symbol. Each venue that we work with will have a large A3 communication board readily available. So it just allows the staff as well to build those relationships with their clients too, who may have communication challenges. It's just also really fostering those levels of independence for people with disability, and it's helping those visitors be more active and involved in making choices of their needs. If we could just share resource number 5, thank you, Lords. Oops, that's the one. Thank you. So as you can see on here, this particular one is for a recreational centre, which is in the city of Bendigo. And we've discussed with the actual centre, what are your most frequented questions? What do you get the most queries on? And these are the symbols that we've placed on the board for this organisation. Thanks for that share, Lou. And I'll just talk to you about one more service that our business does offer and how I've been able to work again with Soundfair, which has been a wonderful collaboration with our training. So we have an online training module called Communication Access and Awareness Training. It really outlines why communication is a two-way process. It talks about the impacts of communication challenges and the different types of communication elements. We offer a range of strategies and supports and tools to service the wider community. And if we think about, just the people within Australia with hearing loss, and we're talking about, over 4 million people potentially, we were very, very fortunate again to be able to collaborate with Soundfair on this particular offering that we have. And we've been able to create a whole bank of resources and include those in our training, particularly for the hard of hearing community. And more so for the organisations supporting the hard of hearing community. And we've been able to feature some lived experience videos. So that's been an absolute pleasure again to be able to collaborate with Soundfair to be able to do that. Each section actually contains really easy steps to follow. It's got some video lessons, it's interactive, there's some quizzes, there's some activities. There's some really cool activities to do actually, which really places you in the footsteps of the person with the communication challenges and bombards you with a whole range of sensory elements. And you're expected to perform under pressure. But it's about placing you in the footsteps of the person with the disability. And I know from my own personal experience, if I'm in somewhere noisy and there's clattering of dishes and there's footsteps on the floor and there's music and there's echo and there's people's voices, it's a really, really challenging situation to be in. And I think it's really important for others to actually walk in those footsteps so that they actually can develop empathy and understanding and then create action. So if we could just share resource number 7, thank you, Lou. There we go. That's just a quick snippet from the training. Just talks about what's actually in section 3. And then if we could just go on to the last resource, number 8, thank you, Lou. And again, that's one of the resources that we've worked with tongue twisted. One of the resources that we developed with the help of Soundfair, and it's really giving some fantastic communication tips for a person who's hard of hearing or deaf. And this is for the organisation, the face-to-face person, the frontline person who's actually working in customer service, to equip them and upskill them with some strategies to help service a person who may be hard of hearing. So just to wrap up, and I'm sorry if I don't even know if I've gone over time, but I do apologise. Just to wrap up, look, together, with my business partner, Judy O'Connor, who actually also has lived experience of disability. She has a little boy with disability. We feel incredibly proud to be able to be a part of the inclusion movement, and incredibly proud that the work that we do supports the wider community. And regardless of ability, we feel so privileged to be in this position. We truly value seeing the difference that our work makes to everybody else. And we certainly hope that our shared vision of authentic inclusion can become a reality now and into the future. So thank you for listening, and please hop onto our website and download our free resources and share them. Thank you.